Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on just the DC live action stuff, as a whole. So we are slowly approaching the next era, whichever way you want to pronounce it, in the DC live action, space, universe, whichever way you want to put it. And James Gunn and Peter Safran are already leading DC right now. They're the heads of it. But we won't be seeing anything specifically made for their DC universe that they're producing, writing, everything like that until next year at the very earliest, and probably like around this time next year, or maybe a bit earlier, unsure when things are happening, but that will be when Creature Commandos, that animated series, does hit HBO Max, or Max as it's called now. Though I am unsure whether the writer's strike will be impacting that series. I think James Gunn said that all of that was done in regards to the writing stuff at least, and they're able to go record voices and everything like that because all the writing was done before the strike went down. And that's the same with Superman Legacy, though they can't make changes to the scripts whilst the strike is going on, which includes ad-libbing and just sort of like, interpreting stuff on set in the, recording booth. You can't just make stuff up. Improvisation and everything like that. But there is a lot of time until those series comes out, so if changes have to happen, they can be inserted post-strike, whenever that might be. Now, at this point, Warner Brothers isn't out of San Diego Comic-Con, like a lot of other things, but pretty much every other studio and major franchise has pulled out of, presenting anything at Comic-Con this year, or actually within the next month or so. Actually, it's in like 3 weeks now, I think. So, because it's only like 3 weeks and now 3 weeks away roughly from now, we should know what's going on in regards to whether DC and I guess Warner Brothers as a whole will be attending. But it would be surprising if they went there for a lot of stuff, like James Gunn gets on stage and announces anything. That's probably not going to happen. Maybe just Blue Beetle will be there, seeing that comes out like a month, actually like 3 weeks, I think, after Comic-Con. So I wouldn't expect any major news, at least coming out at specifically Comic-Con, because it looks like it's going to be another dud this year, which is very disappointing because I know people personally that bought tickets and are going because they thought this was going to be like the big return year for Comic-Con, but yeah, that doesn't seem like it's going to be the case, unfortunately. But anyway, recently, James Gunn did speak to a Spanish outlet, I think it was, or at least Hispanic. They speak Spanish, but I'm pretty sure it was actually from Spain. But I was able to translate it to English, so don't worry, you don't have to get a Google Translator. And in the interview, he covered a few topics of interest that are worth discussing, which give us a viewpoint, I guess, into the future of his DC universe and how he is going to tackle it. And we will also go over some, queries, I guess you could say, that people have about Gunn's DC universe and what we should be expecting, especially when it comes to big characters that he hasn't really spoken about when it comes to relevance in his plans. But let me know in the comments section down below what you're looking forward to most, in James Gunn's universe, whether it's something that's already been announced, like a Superman Legacy, that Batman movie, or something that's not announced, but you're interested to see what his take on that character would be. And also, if you have any hesitations, I know there's people that have hesitations about James Gunn leading it, not necessarily him making films within it, but him being the head dude. So if you have any hesitations, let me know in the comment section as well. But this is what James Gunn's had to say on his decision to take the DC Studios head position. I don't think there's ever been a storyteller in charge. It's unprecedented. No one in the history of Hollywood has ever had an opportunity to tell the biggest story ever told across television, film, and games, to have that type of creative outlet. So how the F could I say no? Now, I did see people blowing up about this because he says there's never been a storyteller in charge. It's like, oh, well, Kevin Feige's a storyteller. Well, Kevin Feige is a producer. Like, they're producers and stuff like that. While James Gunn is a writer and director, he's a storyteller. Now, you could argue that Zack Snyder was technically in control of the DC universe, at least for like a tiny bit of it at the beginning of it. So he was sort of in charge, but he wasn't given as much power, nowhere near as like James Gunn's being given. Like, James Gunn is selecting everyone to do with everything when it comes to these films and TV series and everything like that. So yeah, I can see what James is saying there, but I can also see what other people are saying when they're like, well, hold on, Zack Snyder. So I can understand that. Now, one thing I do see a lot of people wondering about is not the television stuff or the film. That's pretty basic. We understand how that's going to work. We've already got Peacemaker, that's a TV series that connects to the Suicide Squad of film. And we know Peacemaker Season 2 is coming out, which we'll see where that connects. Who knows? But a lot of people are wondering about the game side of it. So the gaming. I don't think this is going to work. I don't understand how it's going to work unless it's some like crappy mobile app that comes out for certain projects and stuff. Unless it's meant to be some like new version of DC Universe Online, which was really cool when it first came out. And it was still playable for years that followed, but there was just never really that much, attachment to it. Like, you never felt the drive to go on it. There was no like real, like, I don't want to say real life connection to it, but nothing like, connecting to a movie, like fully. There were connections, like they released suits and, missions and stuff maybe associated with different movies or even comic book events or whatever it is. but it wasn't like overly, you know, connected, if that makes sense. So that's what he could do, but outside of that, I don't know what the gaming side's going to be. I think no one really knows. He has really not elaborated on it at all. I don't think it'd surprise many people if that, you know, gaming thing just sort of gets dropped, unless he has specific plans and the things are already in motion, where like every 3 or 4 years there is this big game that comes out that plays a part in his storyline. That could be what's going on there, but we know with modern games how much they get delayed and everything, so that's a risk. I just don't see how the gaming thing is going to play out consistently at the very least, unless it is like this, it's almost like an event film when the game comes out, like every 3 or 4 years, like I was saying before. So that could maybe how it plays out, but I don't think it's going to be a very like important part of what he's trying to tell. At least that's what I'm getting from, you know, what's been revealed so far. But then James went on to talk about the lack of unique superhero / comic book movies, and this is what he said. Infinity War and Endgame were totally unique. The first Shazam movie was high concept comedy, so I think that there's been really interesting films. I wish there were more, but yeah. Now, this is always going to be an issue when you get deeper and deeper into this superhero film era. Now, obviously we had Superman 1978, but really nothing until like for another decade, and now we're getting like, I mean, we're probably going to have to get up to the point we get 3 or 4 DC movies coming out a year with like 3 or 4 Marvel movies, and then probably like a Dark Horse or an Image comic, or, you know, and then all the different series on Netflix, HBO Max, on Disney Plus, on Amazon Prime, everything like that. There's just so much content out there. So to be unique is really hard. Like Shazam was probably the first one that, you know, tried to break that mold a bit, and unfortunately it just didn't really, I mean, it was profitable, the first one, but like it didn't like break any like records or anything like that. And it's one of my favorite, if not favorite, DCEU movies, because it is a bit unique and different. And then there's of course like the first Wonder Woman movie as well, which was this like, you know, obviously we had the first Captain America, but Wonder Woman took it to a next level when it came to like a war-focused superhero film. So it's, you know, you can get some unique ones there, but at least consistently it's going to be hard. And I don't know if James Gunn's going to be able to provide like a straight away, like I don't know if Superman Legacy is going to be unique. Swamp Thing could be unique. Booster Gold could be a unique series. The Lantern series on HBO Max could be a unique thing as well, but at least in regards to like reinventing the wheel when it comes to those big characters like a Superman, a Batman, and even a Wonder Woman or whatever it is, at this point it might be hard, but you don't know until you see it, you know, so it's really hard to judge now whether that's the case or not. And finally, James went on to talk about tackling the storylines and how he is taking it on as both as a studio head, like head of DC Studios alongside Peter Safran, as well as a creative like writer-director. I'm hiring great directors and great writers. It's going to be interesting stuff, if nothing else. That's what I'd rather make, stuff that's interesting and doesn't work than stuff that is just the same old thing that we've seen again and again. And you know what? I actually really appreciate that final take. You're better off, you know, having a go, trying to make something, you know, unique, like we were talking about before, and different, and that something you would want to watch. And if it doesn't hit with the general audience, it doesn't, but at least you enjoyed what you made. I think that's probably one of the more important things. But also in DC in its current state, these things have to be successful at the box office. So you got to try and just get that general audience eye. And that's the hard balance. Maybe, I don't know if that's whether you, with every movie, you try and get that balance of being unique and hitting the general audience, or you go, let's make a completely generic movie, try and make as much money as possible, 800 million, a billion, whatever it is. And then we can release this really unique thing that's probably the best movie out of this bunch that we're releasing, but it's the worst performing at the box office, but it is that unique and, you know, style and everything like that. That balance is probably going to be hard to grasp, but to be honest, it's DC sort of being like that anyway. And also Marvel's slowly going into that as well. So it just comes down to the general audience and their taste and what they feel like is worth going to see in the theaters and everything like that. And that's really comes down to the advertising side of things. But yeah, James Gunn obviously has a big mountain to climb in regards to, you know, putting DC back up there again. I have faith that he'll be able to do it pretty well. It also relies on, you know, Warner Brothers itself to sort of like assist him in doing that. But we won't know for another 2 years, because that's when Superman Legacy comes out, like pretty much exactly 2 years from now. But speaking of Superman Legacy, we actually did finally get the castings for both Superman, or Clark Kent, and Lois Lane. Now, I didn't make a video specifically on it because every man and their goddamn dog made a video on it. I didn't want to get shoved in there, so I just thought I'd include it here. But David Corenswet was cast as Clark Kent, aka Superman, which I think is an awesome choice. He clearly was I saw the options there. He was like the one that looked the most like Superman. Whether he's the best actor out there to be playing the Superman, Who knows? Who knows if that's the case? But in regards to the ones like the bunch that were there, he clearly was the one that was the best for it. And they also picked the best Lois Lane. Rachel Brosnahan was clearly the one out of that bunch that they chose, which just like emanated, if you want to put it, or just shined as Lois Lane, even without having to see her test screening or anything like that. She just looked like she'd be a good Lois Lane. Don't know what their chemistry is going to be like, because that was a big issue with some previous, probably the past 2 movie versions of Lois and Clark haven't had very good chemistry. The Superman Returns and Man of Steel versions haven't had very good chemistry, while those Supermen have been, you know, good Superman in regards to how they look and everything. So hopefully their chemistry was good. I think James Gunn probably would have focused on that because it's very important. So I don't have doubts about that, but we won't know until we actually see the film or a trailer at the very least. Now, one thing that's a big question going into James Gunn's DCU at the moment, and we probably won't find anything out at Comic-Con because, as I said, Warner Brothers is probably going to pull out, at least in regards to anything massive. So we might be waiting like ages and ages, at least probably until the end of the year, or at least the back half of the year, to learn anything more. But there's a lot of questions and queries about the future of characters like The Flash, Wonder Woman, like we're mentioning before, and even Aquaman in James Gunn's DCU. Nothing has really been announced regarding them specifically. Now, of course, The Flash just had a movie come out, and Aquaman 2, or Aquaman still has a movie coming out at the end of the year in Aquaman 2 or Aquaman The Lost Kingdom. So James Gunn probably wasn't going to talk about, oh yeah, recast, here's the new movies that are coming out in 3 years or 4 years in regards to them, because there were still movies to come out. So you can understand him not talking about it at this point. But I think at this point, it's pretty clear Ezra Miller's probably not going to continue as The Flash. And we don't know what's happening with Jason Momoa and Aquaman. Probably going to wait until that movie comes out. And then Gal Gadot keeps saying that she isn't Wonder Woman anymore, and then that she is Wonder Woman, is still Wonder Woman, sorry. So that's all confusing. Those are like the next tiers down. Like, we know we're getting a Lantern series, so that's the Green Lantern side. We know that Hal Jordan's going to be one of those Green Lanterns. So that's one Justice League member, like, ticked off for. So what about the other 3 of Flash, Wonder Woman, Aquaman? So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I think the Flash is an important character for James Gunn to associate just because of the mantle side of things, because also Wally West, and I'm sure that he wants to do Titans or Teen Titans. I think that's a project he definitely wants to do. The only thing I am concerned about is whether James Gunn actually likes the Flash as a character. I've never seen him talk about the Flash. I just see him talk about Superman a lot, Batman a lot. Even some like obscure characters like a Booster Gold or whatever it is. I'm not too sure what he thinks of the Flash though. And that makes me concerned because, as I've said in previous videos, a lot of people see the Flash. I see the Flash as probably like the 4th pillar or the 4th highest character on DC's roster. But a lot of people see the Flash as the 3rd and then taking over Wonder Woman. So it's, Superman, Batman, Flash is your top 3. I'd put him at 4 just to give Wonder Woman some credit. But I'd like to think in like the first handful of things that James Gunn puts out there, that these characters are out there. I don't know if we need to do origin stories anymore, because we know that Superman Legacy is coming into a world where superheroes already exist. But is this where all the other Justice League members already exist? Or is this where maybe Wonder Woman's there, Batman's there, and that's it? Maybe we don't know about Aquaman. That's obviously a wait and see. Like, no one really knows exactly what he's going to do, because we're not too sure what's going on with his reboot either. Like, is it a full-on reboot? Is it... If it's a soft reboot, how soft is it? Like, what carries on, what doesn't? It's a bit confusing. No one really knows the answer. So hopefully James Gunn can shed a light on that more. But we've still got the back half of his Chapter 1 still yet to be announced. He announced, like, what was it, 12? I think it was 12 projects. But that was only apparently the first half, if not less than half, of Chapter 1 projects across TV and film. So, and maybe gaming as well. Who knows? There might be one game chucked in there. So it'll be interesting to see what he has to announce next, and also what it is. I know that there was that rumored Rogues project for the Flash, which can tie into the whole like presence of the Flash in Central City and stuff without having to focus on the Flash, which would probably be the way to go. Similar to like that Paradise Lost thing with Wonder Woman, they can do something maybe slightly Wonder Woman-y in there, whether it's like flashbacks or something, I'm not too sure. Like in regards to like it's Wonder Woman speaking, but flashback into a tale of Themyscira in the past. So they could do things like that, but he's probably still organizing it. He'd probably have a lot of it played out, but there's probably still like tinkering and stuff that he's doing day to day, if not week to week. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see, but it's going to be interesting to see what he has to announce. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome to drop a like on it, show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions on all this stuff. Are you looking forward to James Gunn's DCU? What are your thoughts on the Superman and Lois Lane casting? Do you like them? Do you wish they were someone different? I know, let me know your thoughts down there. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.